Welcome to a Help My Child Short, where we shine a short, bright light on a very specific topic. So, today, let's learn about behavior. First, we need to know what is behavior. Behavior is defined as the way that a person behaves in response to a particular stimulation or stimulus. In other words, behavior is a reaction to something. This means that behavior cannot be understood if you do not know what is being reacted to. Most times, especially when there is a neurodiverse diagnosis, negative or bad behavior is due to a lack of skills, not due to a lack of discipline. Therefore, you will need to teach your child the necessary skills to cope with these behaviors or situations and not discipline them because they cannot control themselves yet. Let's look at some possible causes of behavior. First, we must remember to never punish a child for behavior that is out of their control. Okay, so let's look at the behavior, aggression. What it may look like. It may look like pushing, hitting, spitting, and biting. Let's see what the possible cause could be. Poor social judgment, sensory overload or misconceptions, or frustration over communication limitations. No initiative may look like laziness, not motivated, and children that waits for commands and hints. The causes for this could be a poor concept of time and that the child may be unable to organize their behavior and tasks. Discipline, what it may look like. When a child has no response to scolding, isolation, guilt, or shame. The causes of this may be limited receptive language, abnormal pain experience, like sensory difficulties. They do not understand cause and effect, and they have inconsistent memory retrieval. As the behavior that looks like children are lacking in play skills. What it may look like that they cannot entertain themselves. They don't know how to use toys and they don't know how to play with friends, or they might break toys. The causes could be that they do not understand the concept of rules. They cannot organize their own time or they lack understanding of imaginary play. We can also look at tantrums. It may look like a child screams without cause. They can do self harm or they destroy toys. The cause could be that they cannot say what they need. They do not understand situations, concept blindness, which we will look at just now. They have a low frustration tolerance, a need for closure or consistency, and emotional stress. A behavior, sleep, what it may look like. They do not fall asleep. They wake up extremely often and they wander around at night. The causes could be that they are hyperactive, easily distracted, hypersensitive to sensory stimuli, or they do not like or resist change. Toilet, what it may look like. Soils and wet selves, smears feces, or they go to the toilet in the wrong places. The causes could be that they do not recognize body signals, interoception difficulties. They have poor sequential memory. They are easily distracted, and physically, their muscles and core have extremely low tone. Regarding eating, it may look like the child does not chew, they refuse new food, or they eat non food items and they are fearful of food. The causes could be that they have impaired taste and impaired hunger drive. Remember, this could also be due to medications. They have poor food recognition or they fear change. We mentioned context blindness, and let's have a quick look at what it is. Context blindness is defined as a reduced, spontaneous use of context when giving a meaning to stimulus. Or simply put, context blindness is when someone does not notice the context of the situation they are in. This could mean being afraid when someone is celebrating loudly instead of joining in. To someone with context blindness, someone running and screaming and crying in joy might look the same as someone who is very upset. If all you see is the action and not the reason behind it, it could be frightening. Let's have a look at what we should rather focus on instead of just the behavior, and that will help in the understanding of behavior. First, let's look at communicative intent. The use of facial expressions, gestures, verbalizations, and or written words to deliver a message. Expressive language. This is a broad term used that describes how a person communicates their wants and needs. This includes facial expressions, gestures, intentionality, vocabulary, semantics, which is the word or sentence meaning, morphology, and syntax, grammar rules. Receptive language, the ability to understand information, understanding words, sentences, and meanings of what others say or what is read. We also need to focus on abstract language. This is the opposite of tangible things that are things we know through our senses. This refers to intangible qualities, ideas, and concepts. These are words that indicate things we only know through intellect. For example, truth, honor, kindness, grace. We also need to focus on brain integration, getting the different parts of the brain to work together to process information and effect responses. Cognitive skills. These are brain based skills we need to perform any task, from easy to complex. We also need to focus on fine and gross motor skills. And fine motor skills are the movements that require the use of muscles in your fingers, toes, wrists, lips, and tongue. Gross motor skills are big movements that require the large muscles in your arms, legs, torso, and feet. We also need to focus on self-help skills, the actions of bettering oneself and or overcoming problems without the aid of others. This is, of course, independence. We also need to focus on perceptual development, the process of taking in, organizing, and interpreting sensory information to make informed choices and decisions. Lastly, we also need to focus on play skills. Some children need to be taught how to play. Play is important for learning as children learn about shapes, colors, cause and effect, and themselves through play. It also helps children to learn social and psychomotor skills such as coordination, manipulation, dexterity, grace, strength, speed. It provides a means for the child to develop and a process by which social and physical skills develop. Let's have a look at communication. Communication is one of the most common obstacles to successful discipline as your child cannot understand what you are saying or does not have the vocabulary to tell you what the matter is. Young children might not even know what is bothering them. This leads to intense frustration on the part of the child as well as the adult. For children with speech delay difficulties, it is imperative to try and teach a method of communication to bridge this very important gap. Let's look at some methods you can employ that aids in communication. The first one is Makaton. Makaton is a language program using signs and symbols to help people communicate. It is designed to support spoken language, and the signs and symbols are used with speech in spoken word order. Using symbols can help those with limited speech or those who cannot or prefer not to sign. With Makaton, children and adults can communicate straight away using signs and symbols. Many people drop the signs and symbols naturally at their own pace as their speech develops. It is very flexible as it can be personalized to an individual's needs and used at a level suitable for them. Makaton can be used to share thoughts, choices, and emotions. Label read objects, pictures, photos, and places. Take part in games and songs. Listen to, read, and tell stories. Create recipes, menus, and shopping lists. Write letters and messages. And it helps people find their way around public buildings. The next method is called PECS. PECS stands for Picture Exchange Communication System. Long word, hence PECS. The PECS approach is a trademarked, modified ABA program designed for early, non-verbal, symbolic communication training. It is not a program designed to teach speech, although the latter is encouraged indirectly, and some children start to use speech during therapy. There are 6 phases to the PECS therapy, and they are as follows. 1. This part needs 3 people in the room: the student who will be transmitting the message, the person that receives the message, and the person that helps in facilitating the message. The student is shown a preferred object. As the student reaches for the object, the facilitator assists the student in picking up a picture that represents the desired object, and they physically assist the student to give the picture to the person receiving the message. Only when the receiver receives the picture do they respond. The objective is to do 80 exchanges per day. 2. This is where the student learns to be more independent by removing the picture from the board and giving it to the receiver for the exchange. The facilitator is still on hand if needed, but takes a more passive role. It is preferable for the student to carry his or her own communication book. The student learns to select the target picture from a choice of pictures. 4. The student starts to combine the picture with a carrier phrase, such as I want, on a sentence strip and gives the strip to the receiver. The student learns to respond to the question, what do you want? By exchanging the sentence strip. And then lastly, the student learns to respond to the questions, what do you want? Versus what do you see? Versus what do you have? This last phase is designed to introduce commenting behavior, the previous stages focusing on requesting behavior. We can also look at social stories. Social stories are a social learning tool that supports the safe and meaningful exchange of information between parents, professionals, and people with autism of all ages. It was developed by Carol Gray, who was a teacher at a school that had 4 children with autism in the 1990s. A social story accurately describes a context, skill, achievement, or concept according to specific criteria. The criteria guide story research, development, and implementation to ensure the following. 1. Overall patient and supportive quality. The format, the voice, the content, and a learning experience that is descriptive, meaningful, and physically, socially, and emotionally safe for the student. Social stories are very commonly used and they are available to find online almost everywhere. To write your own specific to a student, you will need to know the following 10 guides to implementation. 1. Plan for comprehension. 2. Plan story support. 3. Plan story review. 4. Plan a positive introduction. 5. Monitor. 6. Organize the story. 7. Mix and match to build concepts. 8. Story reruns and sequels to tie in past, present, and future. 9. Recycle instructions into applause. And 10. Stay on current social research and updates.